What is up, and welcome to episode number 55 of SGPN's The Daily Dog. This is Underdog Picks for Friday, August 16th, 2024. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, sign up with promo code DAILYDOG, DAILYDOG, at UnderdogFantasy.com or on the Underdog Fantasy app for a $250 deposit match bonus. All right, let's get right into the picks here. Let's not waste time. It's a Friday. Everyone's got stuff to do. We are going to be starting out with Andrew Heaney, higher than 5.0 hits allowed against the Twins. Andrew Heaney having a nice year. Andrew Heaney, not that bad of a pitcher, and all things considered. I think he's kind of pitching a little bit above his skis so far this year. I mean, he's 33. It's not the end of the road for pitchers by any means, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be a guy like Justin Verlander, who is still an ace late into his 40s. I think that there's still time in this season for him to regress a little bit, and it's not like he's, crazily outpacing his, former numbers or past season numbers by, 50% or something. He's just a little bit ahead of the curve. And I think that the Twins are a spot where he can regress towards his career-long average. The Twins are number 3 in Major League Baseball versus lefties. Yes, Byron Buxton's banged up, so he's not in the lineup. But there's enough guys on this team that can get hits versus lefties. There's not too much experience versus Heaney, but I don't really think that matters here. I don't necessarily think Heaney is a super unique pitcher that, you need to see him 5-10 times before you really get a read on what he's doing out there. So these guys on the Twins roster, like 5 of their 9 are batting like 267 or better versus lefties. And 2 of them are 300 or better, which are Carlos Santana and Royce Lewis. I just think that there's a lot of ways to get on base versus Heaney. Every few games he has a gem where he allows like 2 hits in 6 innings. But there's plenty of 5, 6, 7 hit innings or 7 hit outings in his on his resume this season and for his career. And again, this whole Rangers team is pretty dead. They've had, they were in this race for a lot of this year for that division. It looks like they are going to have that World Series hangover here. So I really don't trust Heaney in this spot. I think 5.0 hits is just too low of a number for this guy, especially versus a team that hits lefties so well. When we've talked about this before, but when I'm looking at the Underdog list and I see pitchers hits allowed, when I see 5.0, I think that we're like Logan Webb or someone like in that tier that's like a true top of, maybe top 10% of the league pitcher. And I don't think Heaney is that. And I think that, again, it's not a good lineup for him to have a good game against. So I am definitely going with Andrew Heaney here, higher than 5.0 hits allowed. It's crazy because even guys at the back of the order, like, Max Kepler, who's probably batting in one of the last 3 spots on this roster, he's batting 273 versus lefties. And let me count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 9 projected guys to be in this lineup are better versus lefties than righties. So they're going to be very comfortable versus Andrew Heaney here. All right. Next, we're going to Bryce Harper, higher than 1.5 total bases versus Patrick Corbin and the Nationals. It's Harper's former team. Yeah, I know that kind of counts for something maybe. But he's also faced Patrick Corbin a ton. These guys have been in the league forever, so they have seen each other dating back to like 2012. But overall, Harper's batting 326 versus Corbin with 43 at-bats in the matchup. He's got 5 doubles in those those 43 at-bats. He gets his offense going for the Phillies. Obviously the game yesterday was it looks like on the box score, it looks like the Phillies dominated that. They won 13-3, but really the offense didn't get going until Bryce Harper got his first hit in that game, when the guys ahead of him, Schwarber and Turner, weren't producing yet, and then he contributed all throughout that game. So yeah, Harper is the catalyst for this team. The Phillies want to make a deep run this year. I still think that they're definitely a team that I would trust more than maybe anyone else in the NL at this point. We'll see what the Dodgers look like once they're healthy and Muncy's in the lineup and Edmonds potentially in the lineup as well. But I don't want to get too much in futures talk here. I just think Bryce Harper versus Corbin, who he has seen a ton, who Harper is in great form right now. I just think that 1.5 total bases at a flat multiplier is a great value. Now, if you want to stop right there, that is fine. But if you want to get a little bit more greedy, like I do on this Friday, I've had a frustrating week of these Underdog picks. They've been, we've been really close in a lot of these. But I think that sometimes when you got a full MLB slate, the value is there. and it's worth taking, an extra leg and making this a 3-legger. So I'm going to be adding Jake Burger to this big slip on this Friday. Big Burger on a big slip. He's on fire. He's got 7 consecutive games with higher than 2 total bases. I'm taking higher than 1.5 total bases in this matchup. Sean Manaea, obviously, pretty good pitcher for the Mets. Manaea is more of a contact guy than a strikeout guy, though, and Burger is not that guy you just want to try to, place the ball and get the contact, because Burger is a really good pro hitter. He can get the ball where he wants. He can find gaps. He's a big guy, but he's not just a power guy. He hits probably more doubles than you would expect for someone of his stature. So I think that, Burger is great value, and it's 1.07x multiplier on the slip. So it's just crazy value for one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the last, week and a half. So they faced each other earlier this year as well, and in 3 at-bats, Burger went 2 of 3 with a home run and a double. So, it's obviously fresh. His whole sample size versus Manaea is just 5 at-bats, so it's nothing too crazy. But again, that was June or July 19th, kind of towards the beginning of this hot streak. So I really just think Burger is a crazy value here. I mean, it's the Marlins, so nobody wants to get excited about their offense in any way, shape, or form. But there are some guys that you should probably be looking at on a daily basis trying to find that value. Another one's Jesus Sanchez, who's a really good home run hitter, really good exit velocity on when he makes contact. But today, I don't really like him in this matchup as much as Jake Burger. So these 3 plays together, which are Andrew Heaney higher than 5.0 hits allowed, Bryce Harper higher than 1.5 total bases, and Jake Burger higher than 1.5 total bases, come together for a 6.42x multiplier. If you put $10 on it, that'd be to win 64.20. If you 100, 642. If you went whatever amount you want, put it on there, because I really like all 3 of these plays. All right, let's take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Underdog. Again, I've talked about them. I talk about them every day. They sponsor this podcast. And they also offer this great promo code for this podcast, DailyDog, DAILYDOG, at UnderdogFantasy.com or on the Underdog app. 50% deposit match bonus worth up to $250 if you put down $500. It's a great way to get positive expected value, because you're getting extra bullets in the chamber to fire on these pick'em slips, to fire on best ball fantasy, to fire on streaks, to fire on daily fantasy. I mean, that's what's so great about Underdog. There's so many options on this app. You can kind of choose what you like and go with it. There's tons of pick'em sites out there now. Nobody's menu comes close to Underdog. It's really not even worth debating. And also, Underdog offers promos all the time. I think right now I saw on the app there's a 10% deposit bonus for people who are already members of Underdog. So even if you can't use the promo code DailyDog as a new member, you can deposit a 10% and get 10% added to your account. And and again, I did some more best ball leagues today. I did some of the big tournaments. I don't necessarily love my draft picks as much as I loved the guys that I got in my very first one yesterday. But it's worth taking a shot. In these huge field best ball leagues are awesome, because you just draft it right now in August. You draft it right before the season starts, and you do not have to manage this roster throughout the week. You have a quarterback, you have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, 18-player rosters. Whoever scores most points from those positions on your team are who count towards your score that week. Best ball is by far the best way to play season-long fantasy. Those weekly leagues on ESPN we've all been doing for 20-plus years, those are a headache. Best ball is where it's at. And again, they have tournaments, so you can risk a little to try to win a lot if that is more your thing. Or you can get into a 2-man draft where both you guys have the most stacked teams ever, and may the best man win. But that's enough about Underdog. Let's get to the Dong Squad, the home run picks. We're due to hit one of these. I'm just going to say it. We've had a little bit of a cold streak after a couple really hot weeks in the home run department. So I'm starting out with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. versus Kyle Hendricks and the Cubs. We got slight wind blowing out at Wrigley. We got Kyle Hendricks, who's a guy who can get hit really hard, against Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a guy who hits really hard. How convenient. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is also one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now, over the last month or, 2 weeks or whatever. Basically, any semi-recent time frame you want to look at, you're going to see Vladimir Guerrero near the top of the list. Next, I'm going to Kyle Higashioka against Cal Quantrill at Coors Field in Colorado there. Higashioka has 2 home runs in 5 at-bats against Cal Quantrill. Honestly, my biggest concern here is that Luis Campusano could get the start, but I doubt it, because Higashioka won. He's 3 for 5 overall versus Quantrill. Yeah, small sample size, but again, if it's that good, I don't know why you would want to change it. And he's got a little bit more power, at least more regular power than Luis Campusano. Campusano's average versus righties is slightly higher, but again, the home run numbers for Higashioka are better. And again, it's Coors Field. You want power in your lineup at Coors Field. Maybe you want more speed, but I have a really good feeling about Higashioka in this spot versus Cal Quantrill. Higashioka is a guy that, I don't know, every couple weeks he just shows up with like a giant dong, and you're like, what is going on? Who is this guy? He's like a backup catcher that's been moving around, but he has contributed a ton for this Padres team this year, and I think that this divisional matchup is a good spot for him to perform again. Last Dong squad member, we are going back to that Phillies Nationals game, and we're taking another catcher. We're going JT Realmuto versus Patrick Corbin. Realmuto is batting .371 versus Corbin with 2 career home runs. I will take it. You can probably throw a dart at the Phillies lineup to hit a home run in this game, just because all these guys have seen Corbin a lot. All these guys have hit home runs versus Corbin. But, honestly, Realmuto made an error in yesterday's game, which is not that big of a deal. There was a blowout. It was 13-3. But sometimes I like to find these little angles where somebody kind of might be mad at themselves. Obviously a pro athlete's a perfectionist. He's not going to be happy with that error. So I'm taking JT Realmuto to redeem himself for that error that literally didn't matter at all, and hit a home run here. These 3 picks together, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Kyle Higashioka, and JT Realmuto, are a flex play. If it goes 3 for 3, you get 53.62 extra money. If it goes 2 for 3, you get 8.98x. The show slip, once again, is Andrew Heaney higher than 5.0 hits allowed, Bryce Harper higher than 1.5 total bases, and Jake Burger higher than 1.5 total bases for a 6.42x multiplier. That's all I've got for you today. Have a great weekend. And I should say that there is going to be another promo play available on Friday. I already saw it listed. They got Austin Riley 1 plate appearance. We need some justice on these promo plays. We got screwed over on Thursday. Dom Smith, runners in scoring position, couldn't get a hit, couldn't get that 14x multiplier home. Everyone else passed the test in flying colors, but I digress. We're going to have another one on Friday, so make sure you're following on YouTube Shorts and you're following on Twitter to see that video. All right, now that is officially all I've got today. Have a great weekend, and let's make some money.